Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. We here at Madrax are excited to bring you our popular and effective bike parking webinar. My name is Ryan Colwell, and I'll be the host for today's presentation. I'm the digital content coordinator here at Draper Manufacturing, which is the parent company of Madrax. I'm joined by Chantel Pivotto, who is our design consultant and will be acting as the facilitator today. Today's panelists are Kaitlyn Ellerman and Larry Seiple. Kaitlyn is Graber's Northeast Regional Sales Manager, and Larry is the Midwest Sales Manager. They're kind enough to join us and provide some insight into how to improve bike parking spaces. But before I let them have the floor, I want to give everyone an overview as to what we can expect to see covered here today. Firstly, we'll be defining the term bike parking and examining what separates it from other types of bike storage. Next, we'll cover what can be described as effective bike parking, or the type of bike parking that is preferred by riders. Along with that, we'll be talking about some of our most popular bike racks, as well as some great alternates that also provide good security. And then lastly, we'll be doing a live Q&A. So if at any point during today's webinar you have any questions, make sure to put them in the Q&A chat box, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end. Now that that's all been covered, Larry, would you mind going over a brief description of the term bike parking?
Yes, I'd love to, Ryan. Bike parking is best described as a short-term, secure bike placement. This is usually done outdoors, where you can lock your bike up for a couple hours with the expectation that it will be safe. An example, this would be outside of a store or a restaurant. This is different from bike storage. Bike storage is when your bicycle is parked in a secure location, usually indoors, for an extended period of time. Typically, we usually say that's about 2 hours. A common example of bike storage would be a bike room of an apartment complex.
Perfect. Thanks, Larry. Now that we have a solid understanding of what bike parking is, Kaitlyn, could you please go into a bit of detail about what could qualify as effective bike parking?
Yes, Ryan, love to. When we talk about effective bike parking, we are examining how safe it is and how easy it is to use. The more security a bike parking area has, and the more accessibility it has, the more likely bike riders will use it. The more traffic you establish, and in turn, the more traffic your establish will generate. To determine how effective a bike parking area is, we should look at 3 key aspects: the style of the bike rack, the material those racks are made from, and the location of the bike parking area. All 3 are important in determining the safety and ease of use of a given parking area. First, we'll go over the criteria for an effective bike rack. One key feature for an effective bike rack is that it allows a rider to rest the frame of their bike at 2 points of contact. Doing so makes the bike more secure, as it has more surface area to lean on and is less likely to be pushed over than a bike resting at only 1 point of contact. The more area of a contact a frame has to a rack, the more secure it will be. Therefore, additional support, such as a lean bar on a URack, increases the stability and in turn the security of the bike. Another key feature of an effective bike rack is that it allows a rider to use a U-lock on both the front wheel and the frame of their bike simultaneously. If a bike is only locked onto a rack with its front wheel, vandals can separate the wheel from the frame and steal the bike without having to break the lock. In addition to this, if the bike is only supported by its front wheel on a rack, that wheel can bend if the bike ever falls over. Locking both the wheel and the frame simultaneously prevents these unfortunate events from occurring. Lastly, an effective bike rack is easily recognizable. Depending on the design of the bike rack, people may not readily recognize it and won't be sure if they can park their bike on it. Typically, this issue is more common amongst modern, stylized bike rack designs. Despite how nice a rack might look, if no one knows that they can use it, it's not very effective. But by having the bike rack that is easily identifiable, you accommodate bikers of all ages and knowledge bases. The design of a bike rack isn't the only part of making an effective bike parking area. You also need to look at what the racks are made of. Larry, can you please talk about the importance of materials regarding bike security?
I sure can, Kaitlyn. To have good bike security, your bike rack needs to be made of high quality materials. Here at Madrax, all of our parking options are made from steel. This is an ideal material to use as it resists cutting and bending, along with being available at an affordable price point. We use 10-gauge steel tubing here, which is structurally strong and can withstand extreme weather conditions, such as our Wisconsin weathers up here. Our common steel finishes on bike racks are galvanized, stainless, and powder coated. First, we'll talk about galvanized. When the steel is hot dip galvanized, it becomes resistant to the elements and is extreme durable. Our galvanized bike racks come with a 5-year warranty. This finish is our most economical choice, but you may not be the best choice for coastal areas, as the salt from the salt water can cause the galvanized steel to rust over time. Galvanized steel cannot be colored, and it leaves the factory in a battle finish. This process also leaves the steel with a rougher texture than other choices. This may cause some cyclists to prefer not to park their bikes there, as it could scratch their bicycle itself. Next option is stainless steel. Stainless steel, on the other hand, is not as abrasive to the touch. It looks great. It stands well in extreme weather conditions. It is the best option for the previously mentioned coastal areas. At Madrax, we typically, use our grade 3 or 4 stainless steel. And we do have the option in some of them to upgrade to grade 316. Like galvanized steel finish, stainless comes with a 5-year warranty. One thing to keep in mind with the stainless steel finish is that it can become extremely hot in various sunny areas. Lastly, our powder coat finish. Our powder coat finish comes with the option to choose from 18 of our standard colors. This can allow you to match your local business, your park, or your school color scheme, so that way you can either blend in or stand out depending on how you want to look at it. This finish comes with a 1-year warranty. As far as hardware is concerned, we recommend using steel fasteners. Other types can have low tolerance and can be easily broken. Kaitlyn, would you be able to go in more detail regarding fasteners and how they help bike racks be secured?
Sure, Larry. When securing a bike rack to the ground, you have 2 options, in-ground and surface mount. An in-ground mount bike rack is, as the name suggests, a bike rack that has been embedded into the ground. This type of mounting only works with concrete. However, as it is easy to remove a rack embedded in other types of surfaces, such as asphalt or dirt. Installing a rack in concrete makes it a highly secure option, as the only way to remove the rack is by destroying the ground encasing its base. A bike rack can also be mounted directly to the ground using drop-in anchors. This is known as surface mounting. Again, this method is only ideal for situations in which you are mounting onto concrete. When surface mounting, we strongly suggest that you use tamper-proof nuts to secure the rack, otherwise it can easily be removed with a hand tool. If you do want to place a rack on asphalt or dirt, you will need to leave that rack freestanding. You can use stakes to help hold the rack down, but their purpose would be more so to resist circumstantial movement as opposed to acting as a proper security measure. With these freestanding bike racks, you'll typically want to get a heavier style of bike rack so it deters theft. Another option that we have available for mounting a bike rack is to have it on rails. In this case, the rack elements are mounted to a C-channel rail, creating an effective enclosure to lock a bicycle onto. If you want to mount the rails to concrete, you can, but it also works as a freestanding mount if you want to place it on dirt or asphalt. At Madrax, we have a variety of styles that you can choose to order on rails. Standard racks like URacks can be mounted to rails, but also our more interesting choices, such as our Shark or Sentry racks. The weight of the rails will help to prevent the racks from being stolen. Now that we've addressed the proper hardware and the materials necessary for effective bike parking, we can look at what encapsulates an effective bike parking location. Larry, can you speak a bit about what makes a location a great place to park a bike?
I would love to, Kaitlyn. To have a great bike parking location, you will need a couple of things. Enough space for the cyclist and their bicycle, You will also want the location to be marked properly and secure. A good location allows for at least 2 feet of clearance around every bike rack so that the bike can easily be brought in and taken out. You will want the area to be clear of walls, fences, and other bike racks. When deciding where to place your bike rack, make sure your rack is accessible from all sides. If not, you could limit the amount of bike parking spaces that are available. There should also be aisles in between each bike rack. We recommend 48 inches between racks, but if space is an issue, you can go as close as 36. This will leave enough room to move your bike in and out of the space. When designing when designing a bike parking area, be sure to also check local ordinances and guidelines. Each municipality could have its own set of rules and regulations, like how far off the road the bike parking spaces need to be, or if there need to be signage, or if there's any regulations regarding bike racks on sidewalks. These rules and guidelines are very important to ensure safety for everyone. Speaking of safety, Kaitlyn, can you please expand on the safety aspect of bike parking locations?
Yes. A bike parking area should be a well-lit space that is easily visible and identifiable. By placing a bike parking area in front of a business or at the entrance of a park, for example, many people can clearly see it. This will deter wrongdoers from attempting to steal a bike. But even when a bike parking area is visible, there can be other factors that stop riders from using the parking spaces. For example, a car may park too close to a rack, making it temporarily unusable. To stop this from happening, you can install some markings that indicate an area is for bikes only. At Madrax, we offer a marking kit that can help easily identify a bike parking area and prohibit larger vehicles from impeding on the space. The kit clearly marks designated parking locations that are intended for bikes and prohibits cars from entering. You can also turn a car parking space into a bike corral. A transformed car parking space can fit up to 14 bicycles. By decorating the ground beneath the corral and placing physical barriers around the perimeter, the location is easily visible and gives riders plenty of space to park. To set up a legal bike corral, you should look up your city's specific traffic requirements. To truly set your bike parking location apart from others and to attract more bikers, you should add some helpful amenities such as repair stands and pumps. At Madrax, we offer a repair stand bike repair station that comes with all of the tools a rider would need to fix an issue that they have with their bike, as well as a fill-up bike pump for riders who are looking to put some air in their tires. Both amenities are constructed specifically for the outdoors, meaning that they will withstand weather conditions, and bikers love the convenience that they will provide. Another aspect you may want to consider when creating a bike parking location is the addition of an overhead shelter. We offer several shelters, all of which reduce the amount of sunlight and precipitation.
Great. Thank you both so much for all that information. Now that we have a good grasp as to what qualifies as effective bike parking, maybe we can look at some of our most popular bike racks and see how effective they are. Larry, would you mind telling us about the Winder and Challenger styles?
It sounds great, Ryan. I can do that. Both the Winder and the Challenger bike racks are standard serpentine style racks. I'm sure you've seen this style rack before, as they were one of the most common bike rack designs. The biggest difference between these two racks is the Challenger stands 6 inches shorter, which makes it more durable to extreme weather conditions. Some benefits of the serpentine style racks are they are instantly recognizable, and they allow a lot of bikes to park in a relatively small amount of space. There are some riders that do not prefer this style due to this style rack due to a few reasons. First, as you remember what Kaitlyn spoke about earlier, you need 2 points of contact when you're using a solid, good bike rack. The serpentine style allows only for 1 point. This can cause the bike to fall over. The other reason is these racks can be very difficult to park as the parking spots are close together. Madrax does have several other designs that keep this basic serpentine look, but offer additional support. These racks I'm speaking of are the Genesis and the Circle style racks. As you can see on your screen, they have a very serpentine style look, but we designed them to allow 2 points of contact for your bike, so it's very secure. And we spread them out so that it will allow more space for parking your bike in a safe manner. Kaitlyn, would you please go into detail about another one of our most popular bike rack designs?
Yes, I'm going to tell you about our grid racks, which many of you probably have seen outside of schools or parks. They're popular where high density bike parking is needed. They are an economical option as they can fit up to 18 bikes on a single rack. And because they are so widely available, they're easy to recognize and most people are familiar with how to use them. Like the Winder and Challenger, if a lot of bikes are parked on the grid rack, it can be difficult to use. In addition to this, a grid rack only holds the wheel of the bike, meaning that there is no spot for the frame to rest on. If another person knocks into a bike, it could fall and the wheel could potentially be bent. If you are looking for an alternative to the grid rack, I would recommend a URack, which is a great economical choice, but also happens to be one of our most popular. Larry, would you like to go into more details on URacks?
You bet, Kaitlyn. URacks are another classic and easily noticeable bike racks, and personally one of my favorites. These racks provide 2 points of contact for your bike and allows you to easily lock up your bike to the rack. As long as the racks are spaced a recommended 48 inches apart, you will easily be able to park your bike. This is a very economical option as well, as you can connect 2 bikes, one on each side of the rack. We do offer a variety of URack designs, including options with a lean bar. The lean bar allows you to customize your rack to promote a business, school, or city. URacks can come in a standard round tubing, but it can also come in a square tube option. This option will deter any kind of cutting or damaging to the rack. This allows the bike rack to be more secure. The best overall design for the URack is our square UX bike rack, which has a square tubing and has a 31-inch width. This will allow the bike to be more stable on the rack and also secure from any vandals. Unfortunately, the biggest downside to most bike parking areas is that they are all outdoors. So no matter what, the weather conditions will always play a factor. However, we do have alternates that Kaitlyn can tell you more about.
Thanks, Larry. I would like to talk about our Madlocker options now, which happens to be one of my favorite products. It offers a complete 360-degree security. All of the designs in our Madlocker series can serve as either a form of bike parking or bike storage, depending on the location and the intent. These versatile forms of bike security are a more costly alternative to standard racks, but the amount of protection they provide is unmatched. They are the best choice for riders who care deeply about their bike's condition and safety. They offer protection from both the weather and vandals. We also offer multiple different lock styles that can be installed on the locker. You can choose whether you want to have the pop-out T-handle that come with their own keys, or if you want the bikers to have their own locks. In addition, you can choose if you want a solid door or a perforated door. Perforated doors allow you to see into the lockers, and solid doors allow a little bit more protection from the elements as well as some more privacy. The Madlocker also allows units to stack on top of each other, meaning that you can save ground space, although this does require the lifting of the bikes to store them on the top. If you're looking for lockers to go in a confined space, this locker may not be the best choice. Because of its design, the style of locker requires space on both sides for its doors to open and spaces to be used. This means that it can limit how the lockers are positioned. However, if you're looking to conserve space while still providing great security, we have our vertical Madlocker and narrow Madlocker. The vertical Madlocker takes up less floor space. However, it cannot be stacked and only fits one bike per unit. The narrow Madlocker has a slimmer design, but also only allows one bike per unit.
Great. Thank you both so much for telling us about those popular bike rack options. I see we have a lot of questions that are starting to come in, so at this time we can begin answering them. Chantel, would you mind reading them off so Kaitlyn and Mary can answer?
Yes. The first question I have is for Larry, and it is, are there any design differences based on how racks will be mounted?
Yes, obviously, as you remember, Kaitlyn said that we can go surface mount, in ground, or on rails. So there is some couple different design options that can differ the way the bike rack looks. And they can definitely make a little bit of a difference. But for the most part, a lot of the bike racks can easily be in ground or surface mounted.
Great, thank you. Kaitlyn, are there different lead times for different types of racks?
Yes, good question. So many of the racks have our standard lead time of 4 to 5 weeks. So that would be our powder coated racks. And then we have galvanized and stainless where are at a bit longer. They're about 8 to 10 weeks.
Larry, what is included in the bike space marking kit?
So the kit includes a couple of vehicle stops, and then also a couple of delineators or cones that can help define the space of where your bikes are going to be parked to avoid any kind of larger vehicles coming in that area. Great.
Kaitlyn, last question. Is there a significant price difference between the URack and the grid rack?
There's not a significant price difference, but the URack is a much better choice as it does have that 2 point of contact. The grid rack is good for high density, but it just doesn't hold that bike as well as the URack. So if you're looking for an economical option, either are good options, but we would absolutely recommend the URack.
All right, it looks like that's all the questions that we had so far.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Larry and Kaitlyn, for taking the time this morning to talk about bike parking. I'm sure everybody was able to learn a bunch. Thank you, Chantel, for facilitating. I really appreciate it. One last note I would like to make is that we will be hosting a webinar next month. It is comfortable and inclusive outdoor seating, and it will go into ADA compliance with benches and tables and such. You will be receiving a follow-up email later today going over all the slides that you saw here today. You'll be getting a copy of the slides as well as a copy of the recording. And there will also be a sign-up link for that webinar next month as well at the bottom. So thank you everyone for attending, and we hope to see you next month.